Good morning, everyone. Sorry, apparently my AirPods are not connected. Hello, can everyone hear me? Awesome. Um, thanks. Oh, wait, I shouldn't start. Sorry, there's supposed to be a bunch of you. Sorry. I'm missing a bunch of people. I'm gonna wait like 2 seconds and then I'm gonna start because I don't want to waste anyone's time. Um, hmm, okay. You would think with like the pandemic, I'd be excellent at using Zoom, but I'm not. It's so complicated. And normally Ashley does all of this for me and I don't, and she's not here today. So okay. I'm gonna start. We're missing actually quite a few people, but again, I don't want to waste anyone's time. So thanks for coming, everyone. My name is David King and I run a ballet education. And I basically wanted to do this whole program um, because I get paid a lot of money to consult. I'm not even trying to like hide that fact. Um, but I realized that not everyone has a huge 501c3 budget, and not everyone is able to afford these huge consult fees. And I think there's maybe like 2 other people in the United States who do what I do. And we were actually all talking, and one of them, his like hourly rate is like $750 an hour. And I was like, what? We cannot keep charging people this if we expect our art to survive. So a friend of mine who's an editor was like, you should put together basically everything you do for your clients and you should share that information. So here I am, and that's what I'm doing. And so I'm here. And so basically, like I sent in that email, like I'm super excited to do this. If you have any questions, please just like unmute yourself and like ask away, because I do want everyone to like walk away with like a better understanding on how to improve their branding and marketing and how to turn that into revenue. Because it's actually not that hard. Hold on. Whoa. It seems really difficult, but you can build, $1 million business pretty quickly, especially when it comes to dance and depending on your student population. But just from my own experience, because I was the executive director at Master Ballet Academy, I also did the executive plan for like Debbie Allen, and then running my own school as well, becoming super profitable very fast can happen. So, okay, that was super great. That's my whole spiel. And if you know me in real life, because I know Kayla really well, like, believe it or not, I'm probably like super low key and fun when it comes to all of this. But so again, if you have questions at any given point, please feel free, open your mic, talk it out. Super great. If I knew how to work the Zoom. Oh, okay, there we go. Great. So whenever I meet a new client, whether that's, American Ballet Theater or Texas Ballet Theater, I always like to have a general feeling of where we're at. And I know there's like multiple humans in this thing, but if you guys want to talk, or if you have things that you want to say about where you are as a business and what some of your goals are, what are some of your frustrations, where do you want your business to go, like any of that stuff. Like I encourage you to like tune in now, or like tell me your frustrations now so I can address it, because I want this to be as organic as possible. Um, and if you don't, and if you're like super peachy keen and just like want to go through everything, we can do that too. But knowing and understanding what your business is going through is going to be super helpful for me to help cater to you. So if you have anything, feel free to talk. No? Yes, anyone?
Well, I can speak. I'm here on behalf of Carrie Ballet from Marilena
Yeah.
Ruiz. And one thing that we just went through is that we just changed owners. So it's kind of redefining or defining what Marilena wants compared to the old director. And I guess changing the conception of us. And as people get near retirement, sometimes the business becomes less important to them. So I think the old owner, the business became less important to her. So we're going to get back and re-see Mary Elena's vision and kind of redefine ourselves in our community.
Okay, that's
Does that make sense?
awesome. Yeah, so rebranding and restructuring is super, super common. So for example, I'm just going to use like the Debbie Allen situation, and there's a lot of books that have been written about this. But it's called founder syndrome. So as a business owner, if you are the founder, a lot of the times towards the end or in the middle of it, you may or may not grow super stale, or you have become so good at micromanaging everything that you don't want to give over control. And in terms of rebranding, how to establish rebranding. So, and especially with like a ballet education, I think I've rebranded maybe 4 times throughout a ballet education. And so I'm just going to outline on, also I'll touch base when we get to branding about how to rebrand and how to restructure, because it is super easy. I know a lot of people say that it's like the death of a business, but if you actually look at today's market, companies are constantly rebranding. I mean, Gucci has rebranded 3 times in the last year by offering different platforms and different capsules. Prada is the same way. Even McDonald's has rebranded. So in terms of rebranding and establishing, super great. I got you. And Marilyn is a very good friend. So that's, super nice. And I will say, I do know like Kayla, her school is also a partner school to a ballet education. Super great that you're here. Does anyone else have questions, comments, concerns? No? Wow. Okay. Okay, so that's like super cool. So then I'll just move on. Super great. And I don't know where all these other people are. There's supposed to be like 14 of you, and there's 6. So okay. So I emailed out this like huge packet, or this book, the book that I wrote. And it is kind of dense. And I just, I have like 3 screens up right now, and it's just like a lot. So I had to print mine out. So if you have it printed, super great. If you don't have it printed, put it on your Kindle, put it on your iPad. Okay, so I'm just gonna like skip over to like building your brand. Okay, so one of the biggest things when it comes to really establishing yourself in marketing and social media is understanding, or clearly understanding, who you are. So the biggest mistake that we all make as dance studio owners, myself included, is we kind of assume like 3 things that gets us into a lot of trouble. Like the first thing we assume is that everyone is going to understand dance. And the reality is no one understands dance. Like that's just like a fact. Sometimes, I still don't even understand it. But we assume that our clients are going to understand dance. So we make that mistake by that assumption in our branding. So like, for example, I think one of the big mistakes that a lot of dance studios make is they label their class like tiny tots or creative movement or, you know, all these other like sub names. But the reality is if you're a mom with a 5-year-old or a 3-year-old, you don't know what that is. And so when people go to that website or go to your social media and they see like tiny tots or creative movement, they don't know what they're looking at. And what they're really searching for are dance classes for young people or dance classes for, you know, my 5-year-old. So when you're building a brand and you're establishing who you are, you don't want to make the mistake of assuming that everyone is going to know who you are. Eventually, if you do become popular or you do become very recognized in your community, then you can make those assumptions, just like, you know, McDonald's has their golden arches or Nike has the swoosh, you know. So you want to make sure that you're catering to a broad demographic when you're building your brand. The second mistake that a lot of dance schools make, and this is just in my experience with working with other schools, is that we also forget to separate, are we catering to new clients or are we catering to existing clients? Because those are two different things under the same umbrella. So if you're like an established shopper at Costco, right, and you hold your Costco executive business membership and you're, you know, doing your thing, you kind of already know how the Kirkland Costco brand works, where if you're new, you might not understand that they do actually, you know, buy their vodka from Grey Goose and just relabel it, you know, in mass quantity. So understanding that you have two different clients at all times is super important as well when it comes to building your brand. And then finally, I think the third mistake that we all make, just in the world of dance and as studio owners and as business people, is we get tired. We really do like overwork ourselves, overcommit. We do all of these things and it creates burnout on the studio. One, inside of leadership, two, inside of, you know, yourself. I mean, myself included, COVID really did burn me out. And then, you know, it just was so much happening. And then going right back into the studios, and the burnout has been super high. So much so that like, I don't even know sometimes like what I'm doing. And like, you can just ask Kayla because she's like a really good friend. Like I haven't taken a vacation in 4.5 years because I'm constantly trying to either keep business afloat or to bring in new things, or, you know, just because I do own so many businesses, it is really hard. So understanding that it is okay to take a step away and take a step back, especially when it comes to building your business, it is super important. I think it's why, you know, if you look at other business models or you look at other businesses, they're always going on retreats. They're always trying to give themselves a break for new discovery. And so sometimes taking a step away is going to actually benefit your brand. And I know that seems like financial dread or downfall, but I'll get to that also because, you know, money is important. Who doesn't love money? Inside of this book, I basically just did everything that I do in terms of like client work. And I also put the checklist on the screen. And I've kind of outlined all of those things. So the thing that I'm most anal about is being organized. It's like, I mean, I even make planners for a living, but being organized is like super, super important in terms of building a business, because any good business, right, is measured on whether or not the leadership can walk away and someone else can fill that spot, right? So if you are the only one with the passwords and you're the only one who knows how things work, and if you're the only one who knows, you know, the business model, you're setting yourself up already for failure because you're never going to be able to step away from it. And so this is how I organize clients. And this is literally what I go through everyone. And in terms of like rebranding for like Debbie Allen, or I just rebranded for Suzanne Farrell this summer. You want to start with your logo. um less is more nowadays. A lot of dance studios, they want to be cute and festive, so they put like dancers and butterflies and all of these things, thinking that that is going to attract a new client. And it really isn't, because 9 times out of 10 logo recognition only happens at a national level. You so in terms of building a logo or keeping your existing logo, it's going to be really important that it's readable, that the font that you have picked is clear so people can visibly see it, right? So picking a dancer icon is not going to be necessarily the smartest, right? There's a million dance icons out there, and with the way we visually consume things, we want to make sure, again, that you're catering both to your existing clientele and your old clientele. And you can change out iconography, but your actual logo should usually just be text. So a ballet education is just usually text. Our icon is the circle. And then if I were to use like the ballet clinic, the full logo says like a ballet education's the ballet clinic. Our icon though is actually like a medical plus sign with a dancer in it. That's on like our sweatshirts and jackets, but it's actually not a part of our logo. Our logo is literally just words so people can visibly see it and have that instant recognized thing. In terms of logo formatting, I recommend that you have all versions of your logo done, and again, store them in an iCloud drive so that anyone at any time can have access to that, whether that's like, the printer for your merchandise, or if it's, for your web design or social media, because that logo is going to just be a consistent reminder to a general audience that you're here and present. And it also looks like you know what you're doing. When things are branded, it builds trust. Another issue that we run into a lot of the times is your logo coloring. A lot of people don't understand that there are two sets of number values when building a logo. The first set of numbers is called the hex number. The hex number means there's an infinite amount of colors inside of pixels, inside of RGB digital media. The problem is that when it comes to screen printing or when it comes to garment printing, you actually need to be in CMYK. So making sure that you have those two numbers and they match up are super important. If you've ever printed something and your logo has come off like a weird color, it's probably because you are either not in CMYK, or it's usually like 90% that you're not in a CMYK color format. If you don't know how to get your CMYK color format, if you open up, I don't know if you guys are Mac users, but the standard Mac app is called Pages. When you open up the color bar, it will show you the number on the bottom when you click your color. And you can switch it between RGB and CMYK. If you're fancier and know Photoshop or Illustrator, you can do it there as well. I don't know if there's an app for your phone to do it, but I'm sure there is, because there's an app for everything. So when you're building your brand, one of the things that we also want to talk about is, are you being consistent? Are you using the same fonts? Are you using the same filters? Are you using the same retouching? Are you using everything in your power to keep your brand the same so it becomes recognizable on social media, on your website, and whatever platform you're going to use? Now, when we say consistency, it doesn't always mean you have to use the same lighting or the same coloring or whatever that may be. It means the taste level is still uniquely across the board, so that visually it kind of all reads the same, whether that's going to be the layout of your post or content, or if that's going to be like the style in which you take your photos. So like just at clinic, we take everything from really, really low. That way all of the proportion always stays the same inside of our photos. So again, consistency and being organized, super important when it comes to building your brand and it will help with your marketing as well as rebranding. The next thing that I do with clients is I ask them to develop 3 to 5 core words. The reason why these core words are super important, it's not just for your website. Um, it's it will help you build your content faster, especially when it comes to text content, and building copy, right? So if your core words are going to be something like inspirational or, creative or uh, technical or whatever these core words might be for you, it will help you build your content because you always want to start with those 3 words or 5 words and be like, are you hitting them in the messaging or in the copy that you're building to post? And we'll get to that also. So if you could do all of that and you put it inside of your Google Drive, I'm telling you, it will make your life easier, because once you lay out your steps, once you build the foundations, when it comes to building social media, you can do it very, very fast. It takes me about like maybe 45 seconds now to post, when I have everything laid out. So again, I'm just trying to help set you up for success. You don't have to do this if you don't want to. I'm just trying to do what I do for all of my other clients. Once you have everything kind of laid out, your mission statement and all of this, you're going to want to build a branding package or a branding deck. Some companies will call it like a marketing package. The deck is going to contain all of this information in one spot, so that if you ever hired a social media manager or a marketing manager or an assistant, you literally can be like, this is exactly how everything is formatted. Everything is laid out right here, and go to town. Now, you're also probably thinking like, I don't have the money to hire that. You're actually wrong. We're going to get to that. I'm going to show you how to hire someone on a $0 budget. It's really great. So in addition to all of this, make sure like anything is going to go into this deck. Like I said, you're going to want to make sure your staff bios are in there, your staff headshots are in there, basically anything that possibly can be recycled. And you do want to keep your deck current. Most people update their decks twice a year. I think because of dance studios' time schedules and because there's a huge turnover, I think like at clinic, we update like 3 times a year. I know that anytime anyone has a staff change in my current client, we do the change for them inside of their deck. And then once you get all the technical stuff out of the way, then you get to be creative, and then you get to like really go for it on social media. And that's like the fun part. I mean, like our opening shoot for clinic, we built a jungle inside of our studio. And again, we did it on like a $0 budget, and super, super great. And it was sponsored by Home Depot. So that was really nice. So there are like a lot of ways. And again, once you kind of know exactly what you're doing or what the vision is of your brand, you're going to be able to turn that into whatever your heart desires. Okay, that's super great. Does anyone have questions, comments, concerns in terms of building your brand? No, we're good. Anyone questions? Okay. That's easy. Cool, cool, cool. The next part is going to be the next part is just going to be talking about your demographics and knowing your sorry, I guess I didn't put that slide in. Knowing your target audience and knowing your population is going to be super, super important in terms of how you market and how you are going to create a strategy for advertising. One thing that you're going to want to constantly do, and I do this a lot for myself, is you're going to want to monitor your city, your county, and your state's demographics. They usually publish it either on a yearly basis, or I think the education system will publish it on a quarterly basis. So you can actually see the student enrollment inside of public schools. You can see, like, on the Parks and Recs website when the highest volume of signups are. This is all going to be really important in terms of recruiting because, for example, in Arizona, everyone signs up for activities in March as we lead up to getting into, like, ridiculous hot summer. And they want their kids indoors by May because it's 115 degrees outside. Where I'm just going to use Kayla because I just did this for her, in the city of Burbank and Glendale and Arcadia in Los Angeles County, the sign up section actually happens in October and November. So I don't know if it's because people are just not at the beach anymore or whatever. So every city is going to be different in terms of your recruiting plan. And knowing that demographic is going to be super important. How many people live in your city? What is the male to female ratio? What is the household income? What is the actual household? Usually the demographics are also broken down by age. This is also going to be super important because as you are able to figure out exactly what the family status is, you're going to be able to find a better way to recruit. So Scottsdale, I'm just going to just use my city for an example. So Scottsdale's age demographic actually used to be 50 plus. And since the pandemic, that age bracket now has dropped. And so the average age is now like 30 to 45. So that has drastically brought in a lot of very young kids into the city, which means the marketing strategy needs to change, and we need to focus and implement a way to market to younger people versus an older demographic. So once you're able to map your population, and again, all the resources are usually listed on your city's website, you're going to be able to get a larger grasp. You're also going to want to see if you can pull the US Census for your area, because I think it is so specific that it even talks about people's commute times. And this is going to be really important to determine how far someone is willing to drive to your school. So just in my experience in Arizona, we don't have a lot of traffic. So people are willing to drive 40 miles easily to get to the right dance school, where in Los Angeles, people will not drive more than 10 miles because of traffic. So understanding exactly where you're positioned inside of your physical location and what demographic you can attract, that's going to be also important when it comes to marketing and social media, because it's going to help you set up how to structure your advertising as well as your recruiting. Questions, comments, concerns? No? Wow. Okay. Cool. So now we're going to get into like the part, knowing your clientele is a part of your population, and I made a whole sheet on how you can visualize it and all of this. Normally I walk clients through it so that they can get a better understanding of who their ideal client is. But because we're in a workshop and we don't have all of that time, it walks you through it inside of the book, and how to figure out all the different types of clients, as well as the experience that they're going to have. And we can touch back on that, but I feel like, everyone's here on how to actually use everything. So I'm skipping to that part. And you all have the source material. So understanding the internet is constantly changing. And so what is relevant usually in week 1 of a month is not going to be relevant in week 4 of a month. So the way algorithms work and the way companies like Google or Twitter or Instagram force users to constantly create new content is by constantly changing their algorithm. Now, the internet is going to be more stable than social media, so understanding the internet is going to be super crucial on how everything works for you. The largest thing that people talk about on the internet is your SEO, which is your search engine optimization, most companies will charge you thousands of dollars to go through and create your SEO. You don't need to do that because dance is such a small market. When it comes to your SEO, if you're using a platform like Square, Squarespace, Weebly, Wix, the SEO, they will walk you through it inside of your template. It's usually located at the bottom of your page. When it comes to your SEO and understanding how search engine optimization works, it's not always about dance. You don't want everything on your website about dance or ballet, because that is going to limit what you're actually going to be pulled up as searching. So if you're a female-owned business, that needs to be in your SEO. If you're a woman of color or a male of color or any person of color, right, that needs to be inside of your SEO. If you offer daycare services, because I know a lot of places, dance studios will do daycare in the day for young people, and then they flip to dance at night, that needs to be in your SEO. You know, whether it's going to be small business minded, whether that is going to be, you know, family owned, all of these things go inside of your SEO. Whether that is going to be in your keywords or inside of your metadata description, all of these things need to go inside of your site. Now, the biggest mistake that we make in SEO is that we only do the overall site, meaning we put our site title, our tagline, and a brief description of our website. Every page on your site should hold an SEO box. So every page should be slightly different. Every page description should be slightly different. If it's staff bios, you know, on your bio page, you're going to want to actually put in your SEO like the schools they attended, right? So like going to the School of American Ballet is a much broader search term, right? So if you have a faculty member that attended the School of American Ballet, or you attended the School of American Ballet, it becomes larger. Higher education, if you have your degree in dance, right? If you have some sort of certificate and or platform to use on an educational basis, you know, catering to, you know, K through 12, all of this stuff can go inside of your SEO that makes you more searchable, and you can reach a broader base. Also, there are a lot of websites that will let you track what are popular keywords in your geographical location. So like in the city of Scottsdale, the biggest search term is golf. So conveniently in our SEO, it says that we are conveniently located 1 mile from Arizona's largest golf course. So, you know, all of these things, right? And, you know, a selling point, right? A dad can drop their kid off and go play a few holes, you know? But all of these things when it comes to search engine optimization is going to be super crucial in how you build your website. The next thing you need to know inside of SEO is that your SEO is actually just not limited to the text on your site. It's actually going to also be your images. So everything that you title in your hard drive, those things are going to factor in terms of search engine optimization. So if your staff faculty bios literally are just labeled like headshot 1, headshot 2, headshot 3, headshot 4, it's not going to load. If they're labeled by their name, right, they will load. If they're going to be labeled by your school in your name, that will load. You know, so you want to be very specific in terms of the content that you put up on your website. And then there's like a little bit of a cheat. So in terms of organization, it does help to have everyone's, you know, headshot labeled like David King, whatever. But we actually don't label our photos that way, and I actually discourage that. We actually label them like dance, Scottsdale, ballet, Scottsdale, tap classes in Scottsdale. That way those images pull up when someone searches that. So yes, in terms of organization, it seems like a little backwards. but if if the headshot photos are labeled inside of your branding deck, you can then take those, relabel them for your website to be more searchable so you can hit a wider base audience. That's just something that we do, just because it does work. Super great. One of the biggest things also that are going to factor into your search engine optimization is link building. A lot of people don't do this because they don't understand the importance of link building. So the way the internet works in terms of search engine optimization is that it pulls from a network. So the more things that you touch based on links, or the things that it's considered ping backs. Whenever you ping to another site, you're building a larger base of information so that when you are searching, you look more trustworthy or you look more legitimate by having a wider base of connections. So sometimes, like if you have an alumni page of where you've attended, I recommend linking your alumni's bio. So if your alumni is at New York City Ballet, make sure you link their bio at New York City Ballet to your site so that there's a visual, also, I guess it's not tangible, but internet tangible metadata wise connection. And so someone like Carrie Ballet, you have a huge alumni network around the world, and whether or not you're taking advantage of branching out to all of that online is going to be super important in terms of how the internet perceives your website. So that's important. Technical SEO is grammar. I'm the worst at this because I do everything via Dictate app. Like even this book, all I did was talk into my microphone, and then an editor went through and did all of the work. So if you have grammar mistakes on your website, the internet dumps you. So with AI being super advanced right now, if your website is not grammatically correct, it will log it as an error, meaning you're not a trusted site, which means it will drop your SEO. So you could do all of this hard work, and then if you have like a mistake or a syntax mistake, it will drop you. For the internet. Social media, totally different story. But in terms of internet and whether or not you're searchable, in terms of attracting new clients, like in previous pages that you could look over, it's going to be important. Anyone have any questions on understanding the internet? No? Yes? No? Oh, someone wrote
What
it.
is the grammar that you say that you use?
So I use Dictate, but then I use I use Grammarly. I pay the $300 a year, and for the premium one. So a lot of the times I'll upload the text of how I spoke into the mic, and Grammarly someone at Grammarly will edit for you. So it's $300 a year. I mean, it's worth it for me just because I do write a lot. But also, again, another way to get free labor, and I'll touch base on that, you can get all of this for free. So super easy.
Okay. Can you write it in the chat to make sure the spelling?
Yeah.
Thanks.
So this is what I use. Do you recommend, sorry, someone just sent me a message. Do you recommend using headshots of former dancers that went on to different schools? I do, because it's another way to link your site. The more content on a site, the more valuable information data mining creates. So sometimes it's not good enough to just list a name and a link. By adding a photo also, especially with AI and facial recognition, it also will help increase your visibility. So great question. Sorry, I didn't see the chat open. It's open now. See, again, you would think I'd be better at using Zoom after the pandemic, but no. Okay, let's talk social media. So social media, whether you love it or hate it, or if it's life consuming and detrimental to your mental health, because it is, it's not going anywhere. Right? Social media has literally become a new way of living, so much so that the metaverse has created its own cryptocurrency, its own meta universe. I mean, you can literally buy houses that don't exist. Um, so understanding social media is kind of confusing. However, I love it. The reason why I love social media, I mean, it's terrible. A lot of bad things happen in the real world, but social media for dance, I think, is the greatest tool that was ever invented. And I'm not just saying that because I make a ton of money off of social media. I'm saying it because it is a free tool for you to do whatever the hell you want, however the hell you want, in your personal aesthetic, and no one can tell you it's right or wrong. Before, if you were doing print advertising and you were going to pay, you know, the $40,000 to advertise inside a Point magazine, if your ad didn't meet the correct art requirements, you would have to reshoot or recreate that ad. But now you don't have to, and you literally can just take it on your iPhone. And I think free is very important when it comes to art. I do. I think free in art is super important. So understanding social media. So there are 5 types of social media posts across every platform. So there's clickbait, aesthetic posts, informational posts, trending posts, and personal use posts. Clickbait is what we all fall into, right? We all see, like, you know, a tutorial or like a, you know, funny meme, or, you know, it's like cute puppies or whatever it might be. So clickbaiting is creating a post that forces someone to click onto something, whether that's opening up a reel, whether that's clicking through on Facebook, you know, shocking headlines. News does this all the time, right? So news and, you know, pop media and pop culture sites, clickbaiting is super important. Clickbaiting in terms of dance is actually super, super effective, like free classes, or, you know, I don't know, pick something fun in your community day. So clickbaiting is going to be super important, and clickbaiting truthfully works every time. And I mean, it also has just been around since the beginning of advertising. So clickbaiting is creating a shocking headline or a meme and forcing people to then follow through to your site. This might not be the most important to you if in terms of building new clients, but it could be important to you if you're looking for visibility. And whether that's like, you know, even little kids are doing it on their social media to be like, how to get your better splits, you know, or like how to look like me. Like clickbaiting has become something that can be super dangerous. However, it is very effective if you're going to put helpful information out there. And if you're not going to put helpful information, clickbaiting is still effective. I mean, this morning when I was scrolling through the news, I like clickbaited like 3 times, like celebrities who are older than they look, or, you know, it just happens. You know, we all get sucked in. The next type of social media post is going to be the aesthetic posts, or a lot of people say ASMR now. And aesthetic posts are going to something be visually pleasing. A lot of people see like the slime videos, or, you know, just water dripping from a faucet. So if you're going to make aesthetic based posts, this is where you're going to want to invest into a better camera on your iPhone. The new iPhone camera is ridiculous. Even a GoPro works really well, which a lot of people do use. Aesthetic posts are also going to be filtered or color graded. So building an aesthetic post might be a little harder if you're not familiar with video editing software and color grading. But, you know, we all see it. There's like, you know, all pretty shades of yarn, or like, you know, in terms of like dance, you know, it will be like a girl just moving her arms really pretty, and, you know, and it triggers a response, a visual response. So that would be an aesthetic post, which also could be helpful to your business. Again, it's just going to determine on what you're building as a brand. The next post is where a lot of studios make their mistake. they create informational posts where they're going to load a ton of text onto a photo. When you do that, Instagram will actually drop your photo. So what you're going to want to do when you're creating an informational post is you're going to put the informational post further down your caption. When you're creating an informational post, you're going to want to put something visually aesthetic, but something clickbait worthy where they keep reading. When you put text on top of a photo inside of Instagram, it now will drop it. The only thing that I think text has to be less than 20% of the photo. However, I use informational posts for my existing clients, meaning like I don't need this post to be seen by hundreds of thousands of people. I just need like, you know, everyone who's currently at my school or currently a ballet education client to see it. That's when I'll load up text. But in terms of creating informational posts, you're going to want in the comment, you want something catchy as that first 50 characters, and then you're going to want to put like a ... or an emoji, and then put all of the information underneath. Because the way the algorithm works is it only catches the first part of the caption as well as the photo, and AI scans photos. So if you've ever tried making like a Facebook ad and you're like, your photo's not approved, there's too much text. Again, your photo can only have like 20% text across the pixels. And with AI being super smart now, they're really dropping text over photos. So when you're creating informational posts, make sure that you have a headline worthy thing like free classes. And it's, you know, maybe it's just like a video of girls jumping around. And then, but in that caption, you're going to do free classes, a spacer, and then be like, you know, if you sign up today, you can try 2 free classes for the week of November or whatever it may be. So when creating informational posts, make sure that we don't overload the aesthetic, because that does factor. If you do need to put a lot of things in, I suggest you post it inside of Reels or inside of a story where you can type the text on top, and then Instagram separates that. So, and so does TikTok. Or you just put a voiceover, and now with, you know, AI being so smart, captions are automatically loaded in. Ooh, question. Yeah, sure.
Hi, sorry.
Yeah, no.
But are you talking about text over the photo, or are you talking about like the information you would put with the photo that would be you know, nearby or next to the photo?
Anywhere. So like
Anywhere.
even this photo, like it's a book cover, right? It will not do well on Instagram because there's text literally just inside of an image. So when I say photo, I'm talking about the file itself.
Okay.
So you're going to want to avoid putting any text on photos now. It's also about the world being so visually connected to their phone right now that Instagram and TikTok have purposely made it harder to put embedded text like this. And so what they want me to do is to post this photo and then use their app and their text and their font and their branding across, right? Like we see TikTok and you obviously know it's a TikTok because it's their branded text versus my branded text. It also avoids copyright issues. So that's another reason why they do it. But don't put text on photos. It's just not good for the world.
Okay.
Yeah. No, great question.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. The next post that people are going to do are trending posts. Trending posts can be anything inside of a challenge, a trick, a contest. You see it all the time. The whatever challenge, the Potata challenge. These are things that kind of, if you are going to map out your workflow, it messes up your workflow, right? Because there's always something new trending every day. So being able to create content around trending content, you do have to have either a social media person with you all the time, and or you employ your kids to do it for you and have them send you the content and then you post it. So trending stuff is really hard. Trending music on Instagram and TikTok or trending sound bites, those are easier to use because you just, you know, use this, we'll say use this template or use this audio or save this audio. And then you can go back through and just grab something. But in terms of like challenges, it is harder. However, again, it is a quicker way to go viral or to gain a larger audience because of the algorithm and the way algorithms work. So it could work for your business. I always feel that it's very hard to keep up with them, especially because dance isn't something that is fresh every day. And because we are on an academic school year cycle, it's kind of harder to match up things. However, I did just see one of my clients do this really cool thing regarding their Nutcracker performance or whatever, and it's gone like viral. It's gone viral for them, so it has like 100,000 views. So I thought that was really great for them. And then the next type of social media use is personal, and you see that all the time, like, mom, dad, grandma, I have a whole like hidden Instagram account just for my personal stuff. And it's mostly pictures of like my dogs or like, whatever. But keeping that, understanding the 5 ways people interact with social media are going to be super important in how you build your brand and how you're going to deliver your messaging and how your keywords are going to be connected inside of that. Fun. Questions, comments, concerns? If you're absolutely bored, I'm sorry. I'm trying to make it fun. Like, I don't know. I watch those TED Talks and I'm like, wow, they're all so good. Okay, so making sure that you've reserved everything across every social media platform is going to be important to your brand. So Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, Twitter, YouTube, email, newsletter service, your website. Just go reserve all of these names because then you can link them back to your website, right? And that kind of also will build more legitimacy and it builds your network of SEO. So again, Twitter is a very recognized, well, who knows these days, but a very recognized platform, right? So if you are linking yourself to your Twitter, your website is then connected to Twitter, which is a more trusted website. Same with YouTube, same with TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, so on and so forth. And when you have all of these things, it's going to create a more cohesive brand where Facebook and Instagram can be connected. Pinterest can be connected to your website. So anything on your website becomes pinnable. Twitter also can be connected to your website and Instagram or Facebook, and so on and so forth. YouTube links to all of it now, which is really, really nice. Creating a newsletter platform, again, owning it is really important. One of the biggest mistakes I made when I created my school is I opened up my school under the Ballet Clinic, and a former colleague of mine decided to open up a school under Ballet Clinic. And so it turned into like this whole social media thing. And luckily for me, because I understood SEO a lot more, I was able to get rid of their site on the first like 3 pages of searching Ballet Clinic. So again, if you're going to go reserve stuff, especially if you have a work phone, take social media handles that could be replicated to your business. Take social media handles that are going to possibly affect you down the line. If you're going to open up a company down the line, or a student company, or whatever that might be, or a nonprofit, reserve it now, because there are only so many handles out there. And a lot of it, is about timing, and you don't want to have this like weird, it's like Ballet West, right? So Ballet West was late to the game of social media. And so Ballet West actually doesn't belong to them. Their Instagram handle is Ballet West 1, right? Because someone prior to Ballet West getting on social media took it before they could. So again, just go and get everything. Just go out, get it in there. Okay, when it comes to posting stuff on social media, understanding the ratios will help you, especially if you're going to do higher end content. 9:16 is going to be a vertical layout, which goes for like TikTok. It goes for the covers of reels, Facebook stories, and YouTube shorts. So understanding that the 9:16 ratio vertical is going to be super, super important. If you're going to do a YouTube channel, if you were to flip that, it becomes 16:9. which prior to Instagram and the vertical layout and the way phones have developed, everything used to be a 16:9, which is this like lower corner one. But nowadays, unless you have a YouTube channel, it's not the most important. Facebook posts should either be 4:6 or 5:7 with no text on it. This ratio is still important because this is actually the ratio most professional cameras still will take. They either take in 4:6 or 5:7. And it also is usually the standard format for websites. And then of course we have the super popular 1:1 Instagram square and carousel post. In this book, I also talk about how you get away with doing multiple formats in one photo. And I was going to do one photo and show you all the different ways to do it, but I actually took the photo wrong because I was kind of in a rush when I took this girl's photos. But these are going to be what you need to be familiar with in terms of advertising. The problem with this is that none of these are standard print sizes. So if you needed to make a poster or you needed to like make a flyer, like an actual physical copy, these are not going to be formatted correctly. But when you're creating that content and you're understanding layout, if you're going to work with a photographer, you can ask them to leave as much margin or bleed as possible of their background so that you can crop in however you want. And if you're fancy in Photoshop and know how to extend backgrounds, there's that option too, which is what I did in the 16:9. I actually expanded the background because, again, like I said, I shot it wrong, and I put my bleeds in wrong. So there's that. So that is how we format posts. Yay! And the sizing that you're going to need. Okay, so what to post and when to post. I think this is everyone's biggest question for me, especially when I'm working with other social media managers. What to post and when to post is really going to be about your exact demographic. So when you did your research and you got your physical location, you're now going to want to get your digital demographic. So inside of Instagram, there's insights. Inside of Facebook, there's Facebook Meta Business, and it will show you when people that are actively involved on your social media are looking at things. It shows you what they're clicking through. And I think if you pay, I think you have to pay Facebook like $9 a month or something like that. It will show you like the content interactions of other people's stuff in their area. And again, you can once again filter it by age, by gender, by, you know, what they're interacting with. There's also a lot of websites that you can pull that will show you your hashtag demographic and when users are on. So Scottsdale, because of the older demographic, social media usually dies by 7 p.m. I mean, most of our stores here, like our grocery store closes at 8 o'clock. So, you know, the terms of activity goes down. So for our area, we have to post in the mornings. You know, for your area, it might be different, but all of this information can usually be found on a secondary site or inside of these apps. If you go on your business Instagram and make sure that your Instagram is listed as a business, it will show you all of that information. If you go to professional dashboard and then click insights and then click more insights, you can really get into what exactly your demographic is going to be using. Sometimes what to post is really hard, but because sometimes you're just sitting there and you're like, I don't know what I'm doing today. But mapping out your content and creating your workflow, which we're going to touch base about, will help save that. Questions? No? Comments? Concerns? No? I don't know. I feel like I'm not being very helpful. But okay, sorry, because normally like my clients are like one-on-one and it's like a lot of dialogue, but okay. Understanding how people interact and react with you, I wouldn't put too much stock into it because a lot of the time social media is like monopoly money. and like it's fake. And so the way people interact with your social media is also going to be fake. So some people, a lot of people like to call them Karens now or whatever, but like will go on your social media and say terrible things about your social media just for the sake of saying terrible things. Like a ballet education has so many like hate accounts, like it's crazy. And like you click on these accounts and there's literally, it's a private account with 0 followers and 0 followees. So turning off your comments could be one way to avoid interacting with people. However, the more comments something has, the better. So it's like a 50-50 thing. So I just ignore it. You can now filter comments. So if you put like a bunch of words that you don't want on your social media, Facebook and Instagram will block it. So especially like the follow for follow or like DM for being featured, right? All of this can be blocked out now via filtering, which is really nice. See, social media sometimes gets it together. But the reality is that for the most part, social media is monopoly and it's all fake. However, claiming that real estate inside of this fake universe is going to be super important when it comes to how do you turn this all into money? Because money is important. Clients are important. Okay, so skipping through stuff like this, skipping through stuff like that, I kind of mapped out branding strategies for you all because I don't know each of your business models. And like I think I even listed all of these different business models. Okay. I think I'm right on time too. I think we're at the part now where everyone like really signed up for this. How do you get more clients? How do you make more money? How do you get people interested in your business? And how do you do all of this? Now, it's super important that I did everything prior to this because, sorry, I'm about to like knock over this vase off my table. I'm sorry, hold on one sec. I'm moving around too much. Expanding your brand and building this into an actual revenue stream. This is where people, I don't want to say their feelings get hurt or whatever it may be, but it's not because of lack of entrepreneurship and it's not because of lack of information. Honestly, a lot of this has been trial and error for me. And number two, a lot of this has been what has worked for clients because I've been managing people's social medias now for 8 years. I actually was one of Instagram's first clients. So understanding all of this, like a lot of it has been trial and error. And as things have progressed, it's been trial and error. So these are things that I have found that work specifically for dance and ballet. So utilizing ambassadorships, and if you are not a brand like, Grishko or, NG Generation or whatever the heck it is, you can still have ambassadors inside of your programming, meaning you can create programs inside of your space that offer kids incentives. One of the big incentives that we did at Masters was, bring 2 friends to ballet day. And if you brought 2 friends in, you got 10% off your Nutcracker t-shirt. So something as simple as using the idea of brand ambassadors, it's also an easy way for you to build your social media without having to do any of the work. So asking all of your students to tag your business constantly and, every month at clinic, we give away something free, whether that's like a sticker sheet or leg warmers or even a pair of point shoes, because, it's $110. I have 20 kids, and if they're all posting 3 times a week, right? That's, 60 posts in a week that I don't have to worry about. So using ambassadorships is a very quick way to build stuff. And again, it's for free for you, especially if you have a random pair of leg warmers lying around, or you have an extra jacket from the season that you ordered, or, I hate to say it, but even a $10 gift card to Starbucks, these kids are into it. So utilizing ambassadors is going to be a really great tool. and you want to facilitate this through social media. Ooh, excuse me. Now, in terms of creating ambassadors, you don't even have to contest it. So we at Clinic, and what I recommend every school to enforce, is that every student is an ambassador to your school, because they really are. So inside of our contract, it does say that on your social media, it does have to list the ballet clinic. It also says that any photo that you're taking that is dance related also needs to be tagged to the ballet clinic. We also are really big about giving credit where credit is due. So we also include that you have to include the photographer, the point shoe company that you're wearing, as well as the clothing brand that you're wearing, because that once again is going to build exposure. So training your kids to be ambassadors inside of your programming is super important. And it's a free way to get exposure and a free way to build business for free. Because David is free. David loves free, and David is cheap. Despite my clothing in my closet, David is cheap. If I can find a way to save money, I will do it. It is actually why I started a ballet education, and why I became a photographer is I was tired of paying people tons of money. I was like, I'm paying this photographer $2,000 a day. The camera itself is $4,000. Pass. I'll just figure it out myself. So in terms of that, again, free is important. Which brings me to my next thing is use help. Absolutely. Free help is the greatest thing in the whole wide world. Now, studio politics aside, some people don't like using parents because of the connotations or the perception it might give a studio in terms of favoritism or whatever. Parents are the best source of free labor, personally. However, I get where you all might be coming from. So what I recommend that you use free help with is college students. So every local college, right, if they have a marketing program, if they have a communications program, if they have anything, you have hundreds of kids at your disposal who are looking for free intern hours so they can clock their resume and CV. All you have to do is prepare what you're looking for and the job title and posting and information, and submit it to that university or college or their community board. It's that simple. Free is super great. It's actually how, and I hate to say it, but when I started a Ballet Education's magazine, it's how I got all of my photography for free, is I found a bunch of very young photographers, including my business partner now, Ashley Baker. She was just starting her photography journey, and she was the school manager at Ballet Arizona. And I was like, if you can photograph 4 principals at Ballet Arizona, I'll give you the credit and the headline. Super, super great. And it opened up numerous doors for her. And now she has her own, well, she co-owns a school with me as well as her photography business. So utilizing free help is going to be super important. Also that way you can document it, especially parents, like, they're going to record their kids' first point shoe fitting. Like they are. Like no one's going to stop that, right? But asking that parent for that video footage so that you can post it, right? It's free. And you now are not paying a social media person. And it's free content that you can have from your office or from your home. So utilizing free help is super important. So at my school, we also, when we do private lessons, we actually encourage parents to sit in on their privates and record the privates so that the kids have that information. The bonus side to that is when something good happens in their private, it's caught on film. Now, again, a lot of people don't like parents in the studio. I don't care. They pay my bills. So I'm like, if you want to sit in there, sit in there. You're paying me the private lesson rate and the rental rate. So be it. But using free help and utilizing spontaneous photography, super, super great. If you don't want parents in your room, you can do what I do. I bought a $12 tripod on Amazon for my phone, and I just click record. If something good in class happens, great. If not, just delete it off. But it really, it's not like I'm on my phone anyway, so hitting record from the corner. Some days you catch a good pirouette, some days you don't. But using spontaneous photography is also going to be really, really nice. And with the way digital cameras and phones are now, it's very easy. The next thing teaching important technical and stylization skills. This is something very specific to clinic, but it's a very good way for you to build revenue inside of your school. So I'm going to include like passive revenue. Inside of clinic, because we are a very large aesthetic-based school, we do photo shoots every other week. And the kids have to pay $40 and they each get 5 minutes in front of the camera. Only 5 minutes. You can do as many poses as you want, as many clicks, whatever. The photos might look like garbage some days, but for $40, right? And with, 10 kids, or, I have, 20, it's quite a bit of passive revenue to do for 2 hours and to just take clicks. One, it also gives me a huge catalog of photos, which is all of these photos that I'm using in this presentation and book for free. Also, I just made $40 a kid, and now they have social media photos that are specific to your brand that you will be tagged in. Super easy. And then a lot of times with this, we also talk about the importance of being on the music and being on the count, right? Because photography really does show, are you on the music and are you on the count? If we say 1, 2, 3, click, whether or not you're in a position at the right time, it does teach them that valuable lesson. Also, one of the biggest lessons that I learned inside of a ballet company in terms of photography and marketing, it's not always the people with like the best body who are like the photos for your campaign. It's people who are either extremely photogenic or very attractive and can deliver photos, because time is money when you're paying $2,000 a day, or some of these photographers are, are charging $10,000 a day for the commercial rights. So letting parents understand that this is not only something for their social media, but it's also part of the life lesson of joining a ballet school or ballet company, right? The kids who are able to hold the position the longest are usually the kids who are invited to the photo shoots. The kids who have a larger social, or the principal dancers who can headline a show and sell out a show, those are the people who go onto the covers, so being able to have these tools, it makes you more impressive. And then it also goes on the kid's resume. So when you're preparing their CV for them, if that's something that you do, understanding dance photography or working with consistent dance photographers is something that you can put on a CV and resume. And it is a desirable trait and quality for ballet companies. Boop, 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 boop. Super great. Questions, comments, concerns? I don't know. Okay, great. Moving on. Okay. Converting social media into profit. So social media for the most part is monopoly dollars. I fully hear and get that. But there are a lot of ways to make money on social media. So when we're talking about social media as a larger scale, the first goal that you need to hit is 10,000 followers. The second goal is 20,000 followers. And then the third goal is 100,000 followers. If that is like not your jam, that's not your jam. So that's going to be employing clickbait. I do fall into that category because I'm in that 40,000 follower category, right? So when I make a reel or when I make a post, right, I do get paid for it. So yes, it's annoying to see a ballet education posting all the time, but I do get paid for it. Instagram does pay me to go live. When you see these companies who are above 20,000 followers, we do get paid for it. It might not be a lot of money, or it could be a lot of money, but we do get paid. So when you see huge accounts like Debbie Allen or Master Ballet or even American Ballet Theater, you are making money. So that is one way if you're going to go for like the big fish, right? That's really, really great. However, I actually don't recommend you creating that version of social media profiteering. What I actually recommend is you actually focus on in-house stuff. So yes, we have this, $40 5-minute photo sessions with all of our kids. But one job that we've created within inside of our own school is we actually offer the kids we offer them to manage their social media for them, meaning we do all of their posting and all of their content creation. So we used to just subcontract it to high school or to college students. However, we have eventually built a team of social media managers where they now get paid to do it for the kids. And it's super, super low. I think it's like $149 a month. It's like $150 a month for, I think it's 3 posts a week. So 12 posts. So, $10 a post. And it goes directly to that social media manager, and we just keep a portion of the admin fee. But you could build revenue inside of your school that way. You could also use social media as a tool for marketing in terms of having kids or parents even using it a way to cross-drive traffic and cross-drive funding. So one of these things is that, say if you reach, I don't know, 50 families or 100 families, you're able to use that as a marketing tool in terms of going to other small businesses and even large businesses and asking for sponsorship and asking for, $10,000 or $5,000. In return of that, you would get so much social media posting. You could link them to your website. You can build a whole development package for them, or branding kit for them in terms of marketing and catering, and then build your network and cross visibility, because cross visibility does pay off. So even something as simple as our opening photo shoot, when we built the jungle, we did go to Home Depot and they sponsored us blank amount of dollars. We also went to a local thrift store and they donated all of their fake trees that they had, so once again, building a free set. And also building networking. And then they offered if we wanted to put up a poster inside of their business. Also, we went to consignment stores for the high-end clothing and they let us borrow them for free, in return switching stuff out. So again, there's tons of ways to build revenue on social media on a $0 budget, especially once you have your brand established and know exactly what you're trying to sell and cater. It will help. Another way to build social media into profit, and this is one thing I've noticed, like if you're in a smaller area and not necessarily a metropolitan area like Los Angeles, one of the best things is doing social media lives. When you do a social media live, people are able to donate money either directly through Facebook, or you can get an app called Snowball, which is largely recognized in the world of nonprofit use, where people are able to text you money. Instagram now, I don't know if you have to have a certain amount of followers, but Instagram now lets people donate and send you money through DMs. So again, there's a lot of ways for you to generate revenue. It's why a lot of smaller schools now will live stream from backstage or live stream from another platform, is so that people can donate money, because they might not be able to attend your show, but if they're watching it live and you have someone interacting with them and encouraging donations or whatever, they'll donate. And these donations on social media don't even have to be advertised as tax-free. That way you don't have to double the work and issue a bazillion receipts because everyone donated $1. But with the way crowdfunding has progressed and the way social media has progressed, it's easier to get 1 million people to donate $1 than it is to find one person to donate $1 million. So in terms of crowdsourcing and using your social media as a way to network, it's going to be important in turning it into revenue. So that way, all this time and money that you are investing pays off. Especially if your Instagram has a very good aesthetic. I think one thing that really does benefit Clinic is because we are aesthetic based. When we do go to other companies and we show them the quality of photography, the quality of dancer and all of that, they do buy into it very quickly. And they're like, we'll help kids. So it works out. Yay. Questions, comments, concerns? No? Wow, okay.
I did have a question, David.
Yeah.
So I think it also circles back to the other slide about like ambassadors, etc. And again, situation with Burbank and how like there's students or parents that are posting things, but not inside of the aesthetic and almost like the brand identity, how would you go about like doing that? Like I'm not sure if it's worth reposting those kids, especially, but
Yeah,
also not overstepping the management aspect of it.
right.
Yeah.
So reposting is, if especially if so when clinic reposts, we only repost to our story. Same with the ballet education. Because stories are not forever. They're 24 hours. So is a photo necessarily going to damage your brand for 24 hours? Probably not. So reposting a kid, if the aesthetic or the taste level there is not going to be necessarily super hurtful to your business. However, it can annoy your aesthetic. But encouraging kids to work with either a certain list of photographers or encouraging families to learn about social media or having families become involved in the process of social media, it really does help put things into perspective for them. So we do our really big graduation shoot every year. Like last year, we did like angels and we like built clouds and wings, and it was ridiculous. However, we made the parents do it so they understood how much work goes into a single post, which that's why the returning students usually just fall into the line of we're just going to pay David and Ashley to do it. Because when you style a shoot or when you're building an aesthetic, or when they are responsible for everything on their own and a parent becomes responsible, they start to change the way they look at the social media. They're not just being like, oh, that's a really beautiful photo. They're being like, oh, they had to spend money on the clothing, or oh, they had to go change out the clothes for free. Oh, the lighting is really good. Oh, this, that, and the other. And educating your parents about what is a good photo, what is good technique, what is going to be beneficial to them. Because the reality is someone who is sat on the judging panel and the scholarship committees for competitions, whenever someone sees a kid that they like, they look them up on social media. You see it all the time at competition. Judges will be on their phones, and 9 times out of 10 they're looking them up. They're trying to see what is pullable and to be like, is this performance just a good performance, or are they actually well coached? So ingraining the fact that social media becomes your portfolio, becomes your CV, becomes a tool to show your progress as a dancer. Because a lot of the times companies don't even want to see a ton of good photos. They want to see your progress. Where were you a year ago? What did your body look like a year ago? And what does your body look like now? So all of these things factor in terms of how we as leaders at our schools, at our companies, at our businesses are building the environment. And a lot of the times it's just redirecting the conversation. So when a parent is like, I don't want my kid to be on social media, then I always ask them, why are you putting your kid in dance then? Because in the end, you're going to be on social media, you're going to be on a stage, and you're basically selling your body to the audience. So if you don't want your kid on social media, why are you in this? American Ballet Theater hustles every one of their principal dancers, constantly posting them on social, constantly reposting. So redirecting that conversation of the importance or the value or how companies are employing social media, it's important. I mean, every week, right, there's a new ballerina taking over City Ballet's social media for the day. All of these things, it has become a way of life, so much so now that companies are, compensating people for their social media. And I hate to say it, but people are being hired because of their social media. Because if you have a large following on social media, it means you can sell tickets. And selling tickets and filling seats is important. So again, we as leaders, and once we understand how we're going to use our social media, we can then create the language and the verbiage around what we are trying to accomplish for our own business, but also how to give kids life lessons as well as another aspect of their dance training. And so programming that verbiage and programming that language goes back to like core words, values, mission statements, creating a whole dancer, all of these things. I hope that's helpful, Kayla. And if not, you can just like call me. It's not like I don't see you. So Questions? Anyone else have questions? That was a good question. Thanks. No? Okay, proven strategies to increase social media and revenue streams. Again, set up links, link tree, link card. Don't just have one link in your bio. So if you go to Ballet Education's website or Instagram and you click the URL, right, it opens up multiple links, right? So create up multiple links for you, whether that's free classes, donating, community outreach, whatever it is. So that way they don't have to go to your website and search for things, right? The less clicks that a user has to do, the more likely they're going to interact with you. And I kind of talk about that in the whole client thing and finding the right clients. But it's a proven fact, setting up links, a link card is very effective. It's why Linktree and everyone has done so well. The next thing is automate where you can. Everything now can be automated, whether that's responses on Facebook or when people DM you. So what's really nice about Facebook Business now is you can type in like keywords and questions so that when someone DMs you on Facebook about a specific topic, an automated answer is given to them. So whether that's signing up for classes or tickets for Nutcracker, automate where you can because it saves you time, which eventually will save you money. Also, if you are going to get really big into social media and you are going to really invest into your school, there's Creative Studio and Hootsuite and Calendly and all of these other programs. They are very high premium interfaces, but you can schedule, I think, up to like 3 months worth of posting and then be done with it. And it just does it automatically for you. So if that is something that you want to invest in, truthfully, I don't even invest in that for my clients because I'm cheap. I save them money. It takes me a minute to log in and copy and paste. Sure, I guess I could automate it all for them, but it's just too much work. But so you can automate everything up to even your daily posting. A lot of these interfaces now will even let you schedule out reels, which was like against Instagram like 4 months ago. So times are changing. Automation is becoming super important. Carefully craft your informational posts. Again, don't put text on it. Don't pay to promote the post either. If it's if it's informational, paying to promote, the only time you really should pay to do something is when you know the ROI is going to be super high. And unfortunately, social media is not very stable. For example, I decided to do like a A/B test run of this marketing workshop. So I paid $200 to advertise it on Instagram, and it was seen by, I think it was seen by like 10,000 people, and it had like 100 click-throughs, but it converted to 0 sales. However, I did then post it on a Facebook networking group, and that's where a lot of people came from. So again, don't pay to play. Paying to play is only when it's going to be super effective. So meaning a post is already starting to trend up and you want to keep it trending. But if it's like a brand new post with 0 likes, what is it going to reach out to algorithm wise? Nothing. So don't pay to play. It's ridiculous. Reels on Instagram right now is the super hot thing. Keeping a reel under 7 seconds is the new hot thing, right? However, this can change drastically when something is then published. For example, at one point, Instagram had IGTV where you could create 15-minute videos. That no longer exists. So the formatting of what's trending is very different. However, the 7-minute video or the 7-second video also converts into YouTube Shorts, Facebook Stories, Instagram Stories, and TikTok. So in terms of a 7-minute vertical, it does do really well right now, especially if you match it to a trending audio. Yeah, okay, super great. The demographic for Facebook, according to the Facebook yearly report, it showed that most of the users now on Facebook who spend more than an hour on Facebook are actually above the age of 45. So that might not be the most trendy thing. However, it is kind of the target demographic for what dance is looking for, right? People with kids who are slightly established in a career, who can afford their kid to dance. So Facebook is something where you might want to invest time into, whether that is teacher groups, parent groups in your area, small business networks in your area. One of the best things that I was able to do with the ballet clinic is I actually joined the Scottsdale Small Business Association. And I thought it was going to be like really, really lame. I think it cost me $500 to join. Every event was golfing because that's what we do here. However, when COVID-19 hit, one of the entrepreneurs was able to get the PPP application before anyone else because he worked in banking. And through that organization, he was able to share not the application, but exactly what we were going to need and pull. That way, when the applications for PPP opened up, we could apply right away without having to search for our information. So that was super helpful. And then recently, I wanted to expand clinic, and I was talking to the group over their website they had their own forum, and I was asking about banking loans and credit unions and just trying to figure out. And one of the other business owners was like, don't even worry about it. I'll micro loan you the money, no questions asked. All you need to do is sign the promissory note. And it kind of worked out that way. And it was a very small number, but it did change the capital cash flow. So just being friends and networking with other business owners, right? It's going to be important on how you network. So that was that for me. Utilize carousels for informational posts, right? Don't just post one photo, post 10. Yeah, no problem. Have a good day. Utilize carousels when creating informational posts. You can post up to 10 photos. Those 10 photos are going to cycle through multiple times in people's feeds. So if it is information or it is recruiting that you want to get out, it definitely is an opportunity to get more for your time, right? So if you look at a clinic post or a ballet education post, there's always a cover photo, a couple photos, a random video, and then all the information that I need. That way it can cycle through multiple times in people's feeds. Once as a video, once as a cool photo, once as whatever. Join TikTok. I cannot figure out TikTok for the life of me. That's not true. I don't have the patience for TikTok. However, TikTok is the fastest growing social media platform, and it is the quickest way to gain visibility. However, unless you have 1 million views on TikTok, you actually can't convert it into actual social media dollars. And that's probably also why I'm not like super invested into it, is that I'm more invested on how to get more clients versus make money off of creating content. So, however, TikTok is super great. Like, I'm just going to use Carrie as an example. Last year, all the kids at Carrie Ballet were on TikTok, and they literally would go viral over the weirdest things. Like, one of their kids made a video reaction to like something I did on my Instagram live, and like they gained like 100,000 followers in like a week. It was really weird. And then they were like, "You're trending on TikTok," and I was like, "Don't own it. It can't tell you one way or the other." But now I do have it because I needed to go save my handle. Again, like I was talking earlier about clickbait, employ clickbait when you can use it, whether that's free classes, free Nutcracker ticket giveaways, performance giveaways, contests within your own studio, like 10% off your like comp dues for whoever has like the best photo or whatever it might be. Like there's tons of ways to employ clickbait inside of your own immediate community, as well as your demographic community and then the community on social media. Use hashtags. And again, those hashtags are going to be based on building your brand, and you're going to want to save those in a drive. So that's super great. Videos, again, videos are going to be more important, especially if you have like an iPhone, because the iPhone cameras be really on top of it. Because remember, you can always pause a video and take a screenshot and turn it into a photo. You can't take a photo and turn it into a video. And that's why we have like, what is it? Like a photo as a reel, you know what I mean? So like, it's a whole thing, but super great. Okay. efficient content creation and workflow. This is really going to determine how much time you're willing to give, how much time you actually have, and what are you trying to accomplish. Inside of the book, I basically told you, don't frame up your photos, store everything inside of notes so that everyone can pull it at any time. But the quickest way to make content is to recycle. So like the latest reel that I'm making money on that has gone viral is something from 2017. All I did was take everything from 2017 and condense it into a 7-second video. You know, and like, did I make like $100 off it last week? Yeah, super great. But, you know, it also saved me time from having to draw or having to illustrate or film something in studio or whatever it may be. But you can always recycle old content. Find, you know, a really great video of someone turning from 3 years ago, pick a new trending audio, clip it together, call it a day. Like, everything doesn't always have to be new. It just has to be new to the algorithm. So there's that. Save time, save money. When it comes to workflow, everyone is going to be different. I'm a visual person, so I need everything laid out, written out. Like, I still use like a million post-it notes. Even though I make like ballet planners, like I still have to plan out like my life on paper. So when I map out my content creation and my work schedule, I really do need to visually sit down and see it. This will also help kind of create a task list of how much content you actually need to create. And I kind of, like I said, I just do it in Excel, make my life easy, color code it, Google Drive it. That way Ashley can see what I have to do. Eric in Seattle can see what I have to do. I think I Exceled it to even like Jason and Kayla to be like, this is what I have to do this week. Sorry, I'm busy. And once you kind of have your layout and your format, you're going to be able to task out exactly what you need. So say if you're trying to post every day on social and you only have 1 hour of time to commit, you need to employ your students. You need to start tasking out other things, right? So mapping out your workflow is going to determine how much money you or how much time you actually need, and also how much money if you're going to build a really big shoot or a highly produced shoot. And planning your workflow, this is where a lot of studio owners, I feel, get upset with me. You have to plan your full season. So most people who work inside of like executive work, they understand that you have to be fully planned for the year. And then you have the artistic folk who don't want to plan anything and want to do it like on the web. Like, oh my God, I have this great idea. You know, and if you're on the executive side of it, you're like, F you, no one has time. There's no studio space. What are we doing? There's no money. Where is that budget happening? So I always say, recommend you need to plan out your season. So ballet companies across the world, they plan 3 years in advance. I'm just letting you know. Everything is planned 3 years prior, just in case if things shift or people retire or whatnot. And so they plan 3 years in advance so they can build their season, so they can build their recruiting schedule, so they can do all of this. So we, as like small business owners, you want to just keep up, not maybe the same scale, because we're not like ABT on, you know, a $70 million budget. You know, you do want to lay out your entire year worth of content, because it's going to tell you, again, you can filter that down, how much time you need, how much posting you need to do, when do you need to start your recruiting? Because I feel like this year, the biggest thing that everyone keeps telling me is that, oh, everyone is afraid of the recession, so kids are not signing up for classes. And I'm like, I don't know about that, but that is not the problem that I'm having. But a lot of it is because they missed the recruiting calendar year because ballet and dance changed their calendar year. So recruiting and dance used to happen in January. It would start with summer intensives, then it would go into year-round and company recruiting, right? But if you miss the window, almost every major ballet school has already recruited for the year already, and it's already done. They recruited in October for the following year. So in terms of people who are more experienced inside of the dance world, they're looking at recruiting now. So if you look at a lot of these mom boards, if you look at a lot of these things, they're talking about next season already, which has caused everyone to start publishing their next season, which most ballet companies usually do in December anyways, to preview their next season. But now we as small business owners have to understand that that does affect how we do our business. So if they are moving up their calendar, we need to aggressively move up our calendar. So for me in Arizona, it worked out perfect. They moved up their calendar, which was super great because we already locked in everything. So we've already started recruiting for next fall. And so we've already, and because I had the content already photographed for next season, I was able to pull it up and just post it. So again, I created that bank and I showed you, like, literally, this is what I keep on my computer. This is not anything like special that I made. Like, this is just me mapping out everything that I need for a clinic. And Ashley and I try to shoot it months in advance. So that picture that we posted for season 5 of clinic, we actually took in June of last year, or of June of this year, because we were like, kids are graduating, they're already trained, so they like look like how we want them to look and dance how they want to dance and photograph how we want to dance. So we photograph all of our people who might be graduating so we don't lose those bodies, and we just store them inside of our Google Drive and be like, ta-da, we can keep up. And I know a lot of my colleagues, Jason and Kayla and Burbank included, and you know, a lot of them are, and even Marielena at Carrie are annoyed on how fast we create content. But the trick is that we set aside, I think it's like 1 week in June, and we photograph everything. Halloween, Valentine's Day, like everything, because we just knock it out. Costumes are being delivered. You know, it takes 2 days to photograph everything. Just get it done and have it, and that way you don't have to worry about it. And then, you know, you just like pull through and be like, oh, this is a good photo, and you know, we're not using it for anything, and we have all these extra photos, so we can be like, oh, this can work for open classes, this can work for open house, this can work for parent observation day, because we're not using it for Valentine's Day, and we're not using it for, you know, Indigenous Peoples Day. I don't know, but it's there. Questions, comments, anything? No? Great. Wow. This is so easy. This was a lot easier than I thought. I was like, how am I going to juggle like 16 people? And I don't know where all these other people are, but that's cool. Again, we've kind of already touched a base on all of this about, you know, cross visibility with other companies, creating valuable resources. The thing that I will talk about is stretching the social media experience. This is something that you do have to be quite invested in, whether that's interacting with your immediate audience, or how do you take a person from social media to your website to either a phone call or an email or a sign up. So what you want to do, and I talk about it in the client strategy, is when you're stretching a social media experience, it needs to all either look the same, feel the same, or it's seamless enough that someone is not distracted to click away, right? So I think like the average person only clicks twice on a website before they bounce off. So you want to make sure that when you're stretching the social media experience and funneling people into other avenues, you're making sure that your aesthetic and your brand is the same, right? Like a ballet education has this like annoyingly hot pink color throughout our website and social media, and but it's a way for people to say, oh, it's Ballet Education Pink, it's that same font, you know? And so it kind of keeps it familiar, even though every platform is very, very different. And, you know, it kind of has stuck with me, you know, I got stuck with it. It was the first color I picked back in the day, and here we are 10 years later, and it hasn't changed, mostly because like rebranding the color might be not the best for me. So you know, it is what it is. Doubling down is when something works, do it again, right? So if something is working for you, do it until it doesn't work anymore, whether the algorithm changes or whatever. Doubling down always works when it comes to building business. Now, doubling down also can mean you're going to expand your business. So one of the best things to do, especially in the world of SEO, is to build a blog. And again, if you're not a grammar person, you sign up for Grammarly so people can edit your stuff for you. and don't make blogs like, this is how to do plie. No offense, you're not gonna like show up before me, right? You're not gonna show up before CPYB or Ballet Hub. Like, we already have all of us resources. Make things that are specific to your community. And it could be like student of the month. It could be something, about, a family has done something really great for the community or your school, or, one of your students becomes a National Merit Honor Society student. Like, all of these things that are local and relevant to your community become searchable, and we can be active members inside of our community. Because a lot of the times, let's be honest, dance gets stuck inside of dance, where we're like, oh, you're not a part of dance? It doesn't apply to us. But it really does, because the more business connections you have, the easier to ask for things, the easier it is to get visibility. Like, if you're really good friends with like, the grocery store or your local consignment store, asking them to put up a flyer when it's recruiting time is free. Asking them to post on their social or to create like, a collaboration, again, free. Your local ice cream store. Can my dancers come in their point shoes and dance around and we'll make a video, free, and most of the time the kids will do it themselves. A lot of times you don't even have to be there to edit or direct, unless your kids don't know social media, then you might need a few times to get them into the groove of things. But all of these things are free, and it's going to build these relationships. It's going to build your network. It's going to bring more value to you as a business. And it also, I hate to say it, it's a lot of fun. Like, because other business owners are like, we need like a bitch fest. Do you want to go for wine? And I'm like, yes, I do. Yes, I do. But it also just builds more community ties. So, by building a blog about your community and how you interact with your community, how your students interact with your community, again, all super great, all super fun. Also, finally, don't invest in ads, invest in yourself. So I still do work 12 hours a day, but I've also learned to take time for myself. And I know this sounds like really like new agey, but every time I'm able to step away from work, I'm able to go back to work with a new set of eyes and, find a different solution to the problem at hand. It also just keeps me from being burnt out. And it's actually really helpful to go away and invest with like other dance studio owners. So one of the things, and I'm just using Kayla and Jason as an example, is we're together a lot. And whether that's just like cooking at my place or going out to a fancy dinner or being able to exchange information about their school and my school, or even Marielena calling me about your guys' winter intensive and being like, let's just take a few minutes. Can we bounce some ideas off of each other? Have a glass of wine, all of these things. Joining the Entrepreneurs Club for a ballet education has been really helpful to me. Just being around all these people who have built multi-million-dollar businesses on $0 is insane. And so like, whether it's a construction company or, even this dog trainer is like hitting $1 million and, she's training dogs, and just, it's inspiring to be around other people who are doing the same thing as you. And it might not be dance related. It's just being around other people and investing inside. And I hate to say it, but the pandemic really did cancel a lot of that. But reestablishing like real connections with other business owners, entrepreneurs, artists, it does help me say, okay, I'm going to take a step back, reevaluate, figure it out. I was having issues with cash capital prior to this or recently, and not the small business loan, but Jason actually referred me to a really interesting venture capital firm, and they were able to help finance. So like, again, just having multiple versions of this going will be helpful. Okay. And that's about it. Do you all have any questions? Super great, right on time. It's good though, because last night when I practiced this, I went over by like 30 minutes. So like, I'm like, excellent, good on me.
Do you take a pictures always? Well, I know you use the camera, but do you sometimes take the pictures with your phone?
9 times out of
Because
10,
you
it's
have
on
it
my
right
phone.
away in your hand.
Yeah. So 9 times out of 10, it's from my phone. So the
Okay.
only time we take the professional photos is for the marketing campaigns. So
Okay.
recruiting season, Halloween season, Christmas season, Valentine's Day. We only use the high-end photos for when we're trying to establish more of a broader audience. But if you go on my Instagram, 9 times out of 10, it's literally taken on my phone, and it's usually
Okay.
pixelated because it's on like the wide angle because I have a very small room. Like
Yeah.
Carrie's room is massive and has like a balcony where you can record from above. I'm in like,
Yeah.
a
Yeah, me
20
too.
by
I use a
30.
lot the phone, and I
Yeah.
think it's easier to have the size of everything. The crop, the font.
Yeah. And so using your phone, especially if you have a good iPhone, is going to be a super important tool, especially when you're making video. Like 7-second clips, bang them out. Loop like a plie, a tendu, a jeté, a rond de jambe fondu or whatever, and be like 7-second bar. And there you go, 7-second post.
Okay.
Yeah. So using all of that, do I ever so it is a really good tool. The only time I use paid ads is during recruiting season. And again, you have to be on trend with when your school is recruiting, or when your academic system is recruiting, or when your community is recruiting. Kayla in LA, their timetable is completely different from Scottsdale, which was like also a my bad thing when I first did their consult and when I first was like talking to them and their thing. And then when I went down the rabbit hole and actually pulled all the information for them, I was like, oh crap, my bad, wrong. The easiest website to use is Parks and Rec, or using the Boys and Girls Club. So using websites that are state funded where they have to publish their statistics, always go to them. Like the Parks and Rec, right? Because Parks and Rec is huge in every community, I feel, or in major communities. It will tell you their student enrollment, right? So like, I'm just going to use like Scottsdale for an example. Like in Scottsdale, there was 1,300 kids enrolled in their acting programs. And I was like, okay, cool. Because I also didn't realize we didn't have private acting things here. But just through Parks and Rec, their community play program, they had 1,300 kids that they had access to signing up for plays. So like, again, very high number, even if 1/3 pursued musical theater and not just acting, right? That's, a whole lot of kids coming in for volume for you. So going to Parks and Rec and maybe offering like, discounted classes for their acting students for musical theater classes. Again, you now have access to 1,300 kids plus their families, plus their catalog that they publish every year. So again, networking and using social media as a tool to become cross-visible and create partnerships inside of your community is the quickest way to get new clientele. If you actually think about most new clients in terms of, I'm only going to talk about ballet schools for a second, it's usually based on word of mouth. I can tell you that 4 kids at Carrie Ballet have come from me and Jason. So Kayla down there, they have come because Jason has referred them, or I have referred them to Carrie, or people come to clinic because they were referred to someone else. So using word of mouth and being connected to other programs in that same age demographic of K through 12 is going to be the quickest way to bring people into the door. And then with good branding and marketing, hopefully they stay. That's good. Any other questions? No, we're good. If you have questions though, or if you need help with anything, you can just shoot me an email. Again, I'm very lucky that I have like a really nice team to do stuff. So if you need infos or graphics, or if you don't have someone in your like that, we can do it rather quickly. Kayla's been to the office. It's crazy looking, but there's quite a bit of things going on. So if you have any questions, feel free to email. If not, Have a good day. Thanks for coming to this. I hope it was helpful. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Hey.